Cursor or Claude Code? Which one should you actually be using right now? I went through 8 real alternatives, kept a running scoreboard, and the tool with the worst greenfield speed turns out to be the one most people are leaving Cursor for. Cursor is an IDE-first AI editor built for inline control and greenfield speed. And the 8 alternatives, Claude Code, Zed, Cline, GitHub Copilot, Windsurf, Codex, Continue.dev, and Aider, each solve a different reason people leave. Let's get into it. Alternative 1. Claude Code, the code quality escape. You're paying a monthly subscription for Cursor Pro, you've got 500 fast requests, and you burned through them in 2 days because the model keeps producing code. You have to manually fix, that's the pain point. And the question is whether Claude Code's agentic reasoning actually solves it, or just trades one frustration for another. I looked at the community consensus across hands-on reports, and the call is pretty clear. Claude Code produces demonstrably better code output, and handles multi-step repo refactors in ways Cursor just doesn't. Though Cursor is still roughly 10 times faster on greenfield prototyping with its sub-second tab prediction, so you're trading speed on new projects for quality on the ones that actually matter. Claude Code takes this one, and the community consensus on the code quality gap is unanimous. It's real, and it directly answers the number one reason people are leaving. That puts the score at Cursor 0, Claude Code 1, and the alternatives are just getting started. I've spent enough time inside these tools to know exactly where they break, because I've hit most of these walls myself. Drop a comment if the code quality thing has burned you too. Alternative 2, Zed, the native speed and stability escape. You know the feeling. You've got a large file open in Cursor. It lags, freezes, then crashes, and you lose 20 minutes of work. Cursor is built on Electron, which inherits VS Code's performance quirks, and on big codebases, that cost is real. Zed is built in native Rust, which is a completely different story. Look at the dimensions side by side. Zed handles large files smoothly with no Electron overhead. It's fully open source, so there's zero black box data handling. And it adds real-time multiplayer with voice chat for human teams, not just AI pair programming. The catch is Zed's extension ecosystem is newer and less mature, so if you rely on a specific VS Code plugin, check before you switch. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute, and it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Zed takes this one cleanly. Native Rust speed, plus full open source transparency is a direct answer to both the stability and lock-in complaints. And I didn't expect the multiplayer angle to be as genuinely useful as it is. But that's a real edge for teams. Score is now Cursor 0, Zed, and Friends 2. Alternative 3, Cline, the open source flexibility escape. The objection I hear most is, why am I paying a subscription and then getting throttled on top of it? Cursor Pro gives you 500 fast requests per month, and heavy users blow through that in 2 or 3 days. Cline's answer is to cut the subscription entirely and let you bring your own API key, paying the model directly. Cline is open source BYO API key, so you pay the model provider directly with no subscription markup, though I couldn't find a direct fee table to put an exact dollar comparison on screen. For large, complex codebases, community reports say Cline's proactive debugging and architectural awareness beats Cursor, while Cursor is still faster for quick feature work on smaller projects. Cline takes this one on pricing flexibility, and the call is clear. If subscription lock-in is your main complaint, Cline is the exit. That's 3 alternatives beating Cursor on their core dimension. Cursor still at 0, and the scoreboard is not flattering. Alternative 4, GitHub Copilot, the cheaper ecosystem escape. $10 a month versus 20, that's the number. And for a lot of people, that's the whole conversation. The real question is whether you give up enough capability at half the price to make it a bad trade, especially if you're already living inside the GitHub ecosystem every day. I checked the verified pricing. GitHub Copilot Pro is $10 a month. Cursor Pro is $20, so Copilot is genuinely half the price. But Cursor wins on project-wide context, multi-file editing, and whole app generation. From a single description, Copilot's chat handles bigger chunks only if you push it, so the cost win is real and the capability gap is real too. This one splits. Copilot wins on price, Cursor wins on depth, and neither side gives enough to call a clean winner, so the score stays at Cursor 0, Alternatives 3, with one split. Alternative 5, Windsurf, the autonomous and multi-IDE escape. You're locked into Cursor's VS Code fork and you need JetBrains, or Vim, or Xcode. That's a hard wall. On top of that, Cursor Composer makes you approve every single step, which is great for control but exhausting for long workflows. Windsurf runs on 40+ IDEs and its agent handles multi-step tasks without you babysitting every move. Windsurf, now rebranded as Devon Desktop, runs its agent across 40+ IDEs and executes multi-step workflows with minimal handholding, while Cursor keeps you in the approval loop at every step, and both tools sit at the same monthly pro price. Windsurf's vendor claims its SWE 1.5 model is 13 times faster than Sonnet 4.5, though that's a vendor number, not independently verified. The autonomy gap is real, but it cuts both ways. If you want to review every change before it lands, Cursor's step-by-step approval is actually the better workflow, not a limitation. Windsurf's autonomy is only a win if you trust the agent enough to let it run. So for teams that do, it's a clear upgrade, and for teams that don't, Cursor's control model is the right call. Windsurf takes this on autonomy and IDE reach, and the 40+ IDE support is just not something Cursor can match. So the score moves to Cursor 0, Alternatives 4, 1 split. If IDE flexibility is your reason for leaving, Windsurf is the answer. Alternative 6, Codex, the shell-forward model escape. The objection a lot of developers have is, Cursor integrates GPT 5.1 Codex Max, so why would you leave? The answer is the harness. Cursor wraps Codex inside its own IDE and approval loop, while standalone Codex runs in OpenAI's own harness with shell-forward tooling and sandboxed execution. And that's a meaningfully different experience if you live in the terminal. I looked at the harness differences, and both Cursor Plus Codex and standalone Codex offer sandboxed execution, so security is genuine parity. The real difference is the harness itself, because Cursor updated its tooling with shell-equivalent commands like RG, but standalone Codex means leaving Cursor's IDE entirely, which is more flexibility and less lock-in if that's what you're after. The sandboxing and harness quality are close enough that this isn't a slam dunk. Cursor's Codex integration is genuinely good, and OpenAI built it with Cursor specifically in mind. The decisive factor is whether you want to stay inside Cursor's ecosystem at all. If you're trying to leave, standalone Codex is the clean break, and if you're fine staying, Cursor plus Codex is probably enough. Standalone Codex takes this on flexibility, because leaving Cursor's IDE entirely is the whole point for this user type, and the score is now Cursor 0, Alternatives 5, 1 split. The pattern here is pretty consistent. Alright, so we've covered 6 alternatives and the scoreboard is lopsided, but the last 2 tests are the ones that could actually change your decision. One covers a tool that looks like an escape route, but is actually a trap, and the other is the terminal native option for developers who never wanted an IDE in the first place. So if either of those is your situation, you need to see these. Alternative 7, continued.dev. A lot of people searching for Cursor alternatives land on continued.dev because it's open source, it's VS Code based, and it looked like a clean escape. The problem is it's not an escape anymore. Cursor acquired continued.dev, which means if you switch to it thinking you're leaving Cursor's orbit, you're not, and you need to know this before you spend time on it. Continued.dev was acquired by Cursor, so it's not a real alternative for leaving. The open source codebase is still freely available, and other developers can build on top of it. But as a product you switch to, it's gone. And if you were planning on continued.dev as your exit, you need a different plan. Continued.dev is a skip, full stop, no winner to call because there's no real alternative here, and the score holds at Cursor 0. Alternatives 5, now 2 splits, including this one. Alternative 8, Aider, the BYO API key terminal escape. If you've never wanted an IDE in the first place, and you live in the command line, you probably already know about Aider. The question is whether it's a serious alternative to Cursor or just a niche tool for people who like pain. It's BIO API key, like Klein, so no subscription, but it's terminal only, which is either a feature or a deal breaker, depending on who you are. I couldn't find sourced benchmark data for a direct cursor versus Aider head-to-head, so this is a directional call from what's known. Aider is BYO API key, no subscription lock-in, and fully terminal-based, which means the pricing flexibility advantage over Cursor is real, but there's no measured output quality comparison to put on screen. So if you live in the CLI, the flexibility is there, and if you don't, Aider isn't for you. Aider takes this on pricing flexibility for terminal native developers, and the directional call is confident even without a measured benchmark, which puts the final score at Cursor 0. Alternative 6, 2 splits. 6 alternatives beat Cursor on their core dimension, and Cursor didn't take a single clean win. So why are people leaving Cursor? 4 reasons that keep coming up. Code quality, where community consensus says the output is just inferior to Claude code. Stability, where users describe the app as feeling held together with duct tape, with new things breaking every update. Pricing, where you hit your usage cap in 2 or 3 days on a subscription that isn't cheap. And trust, where the SpaceX acquisition has a lot of developers worried about where the product is going. That said, Cursor still wins in specific spots. Greenfield, prototyping with sub-second tab prediction, and roughly 10 times faster than terminal-first tools on new projects. IDE familiarity, because it inherits VS Code's entire extension ecosystem, so you're productive on day one. Controlled development, where Composer's step-by-step approval is genuinely better for iterative work, where you want to review every change. And multi-model routing, with Grok 4.6, Opus 5, GPT 5.1, Codex, Max, all in one place. If better code output is the reason you're leaving, Claude Code is the pick. The community consensus on that is unanimous, and it directly answers the number one pain point. If stability and open source matter more than raw agentic power, go Zed. If you want zero subscription lock-in, go Klein. If you need JetBrains or Vim support, go Windsurf. One thing that doesn't show up in any of the official docs. Cursor Bench 3.2, which Cursor uses to rank models at 70.8% accuracy and 281 per task, is a vendor-run evaluation that isn't independently reproducible. So when Cursor tells you a model is the top performer, that number comes from Cursor's own benchmark, not a third-party test. Worth knowing before you optimize your model choice around it. If Claude Code is now on your shortlist, you'll want to see how it stacks up against the rest of the field. I've got a full breakdown called 7 Claude Code alternatives worth switching to that goes deeper on the exact same dimensions we just covered, and it's a natural next step if you're still figuring out where to land.